Oh yeah, through chapter 10.
We're in. Alright, this is Band of Brothers. I'm Christian.
I'm Dom. I'm Dirk.
I'm Aidan.
I'm Brendan. And we are currently
Up to chapter.
Through chapter 10.
yeah,
Page 178.
page 178 in our book. Who wants to start off the conversation?
I guess I will, and I'll just say that although it's been kind of slow, but as you go through the book, you kind of see a lot of the small stuff start to play a role in their psychology, how they work as a team, and all that. And that includes Captain Sobel, or kind of how they all grow through Captain Sobel as well, a duty to each other more than anything else, and that's what keeps them in the line of fire. And so a lot of times throughout the book, they keep saying that what really drives the injured soldiers to go back to Easy Company is not that they want to be in the line of fire and they want to fight more. It's that they just don't want to have to go, and they know that they will have to fight, and so they don't want to have to go to a different company, and they'd much rather fight with Easy Company and with their buddies and their pals and the people that have become their brothers instead of others.
Yeah, there's certainly a level of dedication that the guys in Easy Company, the company that this book follows, they don't really find in some of the other ones. There was multiple instances where one of the soldiers will get injured, go to the hospital, and then they'll have the option of getting sent back to the States or to a different company, but he chooses to go back to Easy Company because he doesn't want to let down his good friends. I don't know. There's a certain level of dedication that you see from these soldiers that you don't really see from, or at least not in the way that they describe the rest of the soldiers in World War II.
Yeah, I remember reading through when it said they were in a battle and they fought all night and they fought all the next day, and immediately that just makes me think back to the Camp Dakota days when he has to they have to do the hardcore training with Sobel. And I remember right after they fought for so long, they said we wouldn't have been able to endure this much running and pain if it weren't for Sobel training us. So.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's because of Sobel kind of being so hard on them, they came together, and that's as we spoke about in one of our previous discussions, that's what makes them, as Aidan said, care so much about each other.
Yeah, there's at the beginning, and it's very early, but you see Winter's quote that Sobel made Easy Company, and that I think while they all hated Sobel and none of them wanted him to lead them in battle, some of them, not all of them, because some of them still just hated him and let that cloud their judgment, but some of them were able to see that he was necessary and he actually was very helpful to the formation of the Easy Company, even if it was necessary to get rid of him when Easy Company went into battle. He created the Easy Company that would be prepared to go into battle.
Yeah. I mean, I certainly think, when you're you get in the Army, you're a private, you're doing a lot of training, you're still trying to get to know everyone, and I think Easy Company's sort of hate of Sobel when they were doing their initial training sort of brought them together, gave them something to sort of unify around hating Sobel, so I think it certainly helped them, unify, I guess.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's probably at the end of the day, when they're all tired, they're all just ripping on Sobel, and I think that is a way of bringing people together. But what happened to Sobel? We don't see him anymore.
He gets forced to go. I'm not sure if he's technically promoted, but he might be technically promoted and moved to a different spot, or he's just moved to a different commanding position.
He pops up a couple times throughout the book.
Carrying something.
Yeah. It seems like he gets promoted or moved to a different company, but he's not really he's not really on the front line or in the line of fire the rest of
They said at one point that he was the head of a training facility, but then later you see him in Europe after D-Day, I think he was. Either he was in Europe or I read it wrong, and someone was back in England with him. And he still has interactions with them. For example, he said when they stole the motorcycle, when they got this scavenged the motorcycle, he said to the people that did, I know you scavenged it, I'm not going to tell you, but once you go back to Europe, I'm going to confiscate it.
Yeah.
And so like he still kind of has a interaction with them. I just don't think
But
it's
he's
on
not
a
like-
daily
yeah.
level.
That's where like Winters is pretty much leading them and there for them. So I think is kind of like training, and once they all uniformly hate him, he's like gone.
Yeah, you mentioned Winters, and I thought later you see they all love Winters as the well, you see Winters takes control or power responsibility on D-Day when he's kind of thrust into the position of being the acting officer. And he isn't the official officer yet, but he later becomes it. And then later he gets moved to be the XO. He gets,
second battalion.
yeah, he becomes less of a the fighting the leader and much more of like the commanding strategic. And you see him, he constantly says that he hates it, and that he hates the new position. And it says like he was the best combat leader that the Easy Company ever had, and then someone else was the best strategic. And I think that it's kind of interesting that although he was promoted, he hated his promotion, and he actually probably would have liked to be demoted back to his old position.
Do you think he was like, we were talking about the whole family thing, do you think he was considered a part of their like brotherhood, even though he was kind of above them and a leader?
I think he was. I think he kind of was. I think it's like an interesting position that he was in, because you don't really see him. He's not like a brother in some of the senses of some of them, because some of them are like he was brothers with. They said that him and Welsh became best friends and almost like brothers, and so I think it was easier for him to be brothers with the officers. But I think he was still loved, but less of a brother, like my brother fighting next to me kind of way, and more of a my father. Like I look up to him.
I think Easy Company as a whole certainly had a lot more respect for Winters, more so than Sobel once they got into battle.
And he got promoted right after, like, it was like literally right after the war where he just like snuck up like behind enemy lines. He like popped up, he like killed the one guy and then like just started unloading his clips into like the whole company. And it was like that was like a Secret Service German soldier, like the top soldiers, like, and he just took out like probably like 30 or 40 of them by himself.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention it goes along with his mindset of leadership, and it's that officers go first. I think him and Welsh, that was like their motto, with
Lead by example.
officers go first, and that's just, I think that has a double meaning. One, like in a run, officers lead it on that, but I think they also kind of mean like officers almost should go first and like should die first, because they should always be the one that's willing to take the high risk, that's willing to stand up in the middle of fire and help their unit, that's willing to kind of be fearless. And so I think although I'm sure they meant officers go first in the sense while in running or in training they lead it and do it, but I think it also comes to be the meaning officers go first. They kind of die. They're supposed to die first, because you see him like there. He stood up and just started firing. He wasn't. And later they say that he was trying to lead his men, and a machine gun was firing, and so they all ducked down into the trench. And he kind of just stood up and was hitting them, and the machine gun meanwhile was still shooting at him and just missing him. And I think it's kind of that's what it also is trying to say, is they have to be willing to die first to be a leader. They have to be willing to take that bullet before any of that.
That was like the main thing in training. Like you have to be willing to die or like starve. Like, die for like your brother or your best friend.
It's not exactly to do with the book, but there's a fact. It's coming to my mind. There's this like a species of monkeys that actually, if it's weird, but if there's not enough food for all of them, they will all starve to death rather than have some of them eat the food. And it's I think that kind of goes along with Easy Company in particular, but also kind of with a lot of the mindset of war. Well, war in the sense of companies that train together is if they're kind of like the monkeys. If there's not enough food for everyone, they'd rather starve to death than have their brothers starve to death while they don't.
Never leave anyone behind.
Yeah, they'd rather just throw the food out than have only half of the company eat it.
Yeah. I think that's on 162. So just open here. We see that
winter.
as you